Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Small. I'm the CEO of Symplicity, and thank you for joining us today for employer training on virtual career fairs and events. I'm here at Symplicity's headquarters. There's a skeleton crew who's been coming in, and hopefully soon enough, we'll be back in full swing, and we'd love to see many of you around. For those of you who have not been here before, I'll give you a quick peek of our lovely offices. We're about to kick it off, and we're joined today by Janet Sun, our VP of Product, Scott Powers, our Product Manager for CSM, and Kelly Jones, our Product Manager for Symplicity Recruit. As we begin, just to give you a quick update on what's going on at Symplicity. If you'll advance the slide, Janet. For many of you, you're very familiar with us. I think for many of you, your interactions primarily been on Symplicity at a university site. The company has been growing by leaps and bounds, adding many universities to the CSM platform. And we've also spent a lot of time on our corporate platform, which is called Symplicity Recruit. We used to have something called One Stop for multi-posting. We've spent years now developing and engineering, and we're very proud of Symplicity Recruit. We've taken all of our universities, we've indexed millions of students, we've made it easy to search across all of the universities from one central place, to log into all the universities from one central place, to run campaigns and to promote yourself, to focus on diversity and inclusion, hiring from one place, and that is called Symplicity Recruit. Right now in the market, I believe we have the most fully featured, best offering for employers, certainly the most universities and the most students. And I do encourage you, please, to join on to Symplicity Recruit. There are also advantages to Symplicity Recruit. For those of you participating in virtual career fairs. You don't need to, but if you are, there's additional things that you'll be capable of, and Telly will cover that as well today. But just to get a lay of the land of the people here, I'm going to run a very quick poll so that we know who's on today to verify who is on Recruit as a subscription or who is not, and that will help us better address your questions. So Janet, can you do a quick poll? So as an employer, are you currently using Symplicity Recruit? Please select one of the following. Give everyone just a moment to select and submit. Okay, it's a pretty quick one. All right, I think we can conclude the poll. Is that all set, Janet?
I think some people are still voting, so it's not letting me close the poll yet. So
please vote, and we will conclude the poll. Thank you.
We're almost there. Okay, there we go.
Excellent. Okay.
Give everybody a chance to finish.
And the nice thing about GoToMeeting is we have immediate results. So, what I expected. Many of you are, many of you are not. That's very helpful data. It's a real mix on today's call. We will use that accordingly. I am encouraged that so many of you are, so thank you. And for those of you who have not or who have not seen it before, Symplicity Recruit, as I said, is our platform for employers. So with that, I will turn it over to Janet, who is going to tell you all about our newest offering, which we're very proud of, which is our virtual career fair offering. Janet, you go ahead.
Great, thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're excited to be running this session. So let me tell you a little bit about virtual career fairs and give you some context as to why we started this project. When COVID hit about 5 months ago, we heard from many of our university partners and from our employer clients that there was a need for more virtual recruiting services. Fortunately, as an agile software development company, we were able to pivot quickly and make virtual recruiting a priority for our organization. Let me try to advance the slides here. So in a few short months, we were able to deliver a brand new virtual career fairs platform, which was released at the end of July. Many of our Career Center partners will be adopting it this fall and have scheduled hundreds of virtual career fairs. Some schools are already running mock fairs with their employers or internally. So if you're given the opportunity to participate in any of those mock fairs, I certainly encourage you to do so. In addition to the training that we're going to do today on virtual career fairs and how to get the best out of a virtual career fair, we're also going to share with you how to find out about more virtual events that are occurring at Symplicity schools, and then also how to recruit across Symplicity schools using Symplicity Recruit. So let's talk about the goals behind this project. We had these 3 core goals in mind. We wanted to bring everyone together in a virtual way. We wanted to encourage discovery. So this is very important because we wanted to create an experience that was very similar to an in-person fair. So you never know who's going to step up to the line at an in-person fair. You never know when you're going to find the next purple squirrel. You never know when you're going to meet a freshman who you're one day going to inspire to come work for your company or your industry. And so we really wanted to make sure there was an aspect of discovery and exploration as part of this overall service. We also wanted to maximize the number of connections that would occur, sort of like speed networking. We wanted to give you the information about the student ahead of your video chat, so things like profile information or the student's resume, so you can quickly skim the candidate's information and have faster, more productive conversations and make the overall process more efficient. We also heard some common questions from employers that we sought to address. How do lesser-known companies entice students to come to their virtual booths? How do employers who are having so many conversations with students in a short amount of time keep track of all those conversations? And the old time to hire question, how do employers reach out to students immediately after the fair so they can assure that they capture that student's interest? All those questions we sought to solve for in our virtual career fair platform, and Scott is going to show you that in the step-by-step walkthrough. So these are the key elements of our virtual career fair solution. First and foremost is around video. We actually used to have a text-based chat option as a virtual career fair, but we took the opportunity during this pandemic to reimagine virtual career fairs as video-based. We wanted to establish a human connection and allow for relationship building between employers and students, and we knew that video would be the only way we could do that. We also know that our brains process images and videos almost 60,000 times faster than we process text. And our brains are picking up all kinds of signals and pieces of information, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And that 60% of recruiters actually have told us that using all the information that they may get in person or in a video chat, they can make a decision about a candidate in the first 15 minutes of that encounter. That's how powerful video can be, if you're paying attention. We also wanted to enable employers to use the video technology that you're most comfortable with. So that can be Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx or GoToMeeting or any other video tool that your organization has already approved. Next, we wanted to have one-on-one and group chats. So employers and students alike told us that they wanted to be able to do both. We know that some information, such as an overview of your company or the positions you're recruiting for, that information can be easily shared in a group setting and can be more efficient when shared that way. Other information, such as, am I a good fit for this particular position, is best probably handled in an individualized or one-on-one setting. So we're enabling both to happen within our platform. The main part of our service is actually based on a queuing model, where students line up to talk to employers. And we did this for 2 reasons. We valued everyone's time and we didn't want you to wait around. So we wanted to create a way where students would wait for you. And secondly, we were not particularly confident that students would necessarily show up on time for a 5-minute or 10-minute slot, especially if they were online. So for those specific reasons, we chose a queuing approach for our virtual career fair solution. We also wanted to bring you multiple reps. That was a limitation of our prior service, and we heard from employers loud and clear that you want to be able to bring several representatives to your fair, especially now because you're operating virtually. There's very little cost in doing so. So this will enable you to bring many representatives, or in fact, an unlimited number of representatives to help you staff your queues. It also enables companies who often have very, very long lines to bring more representatives to ensure greater coverage of all the students who are very interested in speaking with you. And then lastly, we wanted to give you the student data, the student profile information, the resumes, so you can have informed conversations with your students by looking at their information prior to the actual video chat. In an in-person fair, a student might walk up to your booth and ask you some questions, even before they hand you their resume. So to maximize the number of connections that you can make at the fair, or said another way, to maximize the number of interactions so you can screen students for potential interviews, we wanted to be able to hand that information to you first and allow you to decide where you want to take those conversations. Next, I would like to tell you a story. So this is about a story about Scott, who is a recruiter with Axe Capital, who is attending a virtual career fair. And these are the 6 steps that Scott will need to go through from pre-fair to day of fair to post-fair. So first, Scott registers for the career fair just like he's registered for any other career fair in the past. However, he's going to enter information about himself and another rep that's going to attend the virtual fair. He's also going to enter in the virtual meeting information. So that is your Zoom or your WebEx or your Microsoft Teams information, whatever you want to use. If your company is going to run a group chat, then you'll also need to add in the virtual meeting information for that group chat too. On the day of the fair, Scott is going to navigate within Symplicity to the actual virtual career fair pages and find the queuing page. He's going to set his status to online and start his video meeting. And when the fair starts, he's going to begin to see students entering his queue, which is going to be shared between himself and his colleague. After reviewing the student's resume, which will be readily available there, he will begin chatting with the student. When he's done chatting with the student, he can mark the student as someone he's interested in or not interested in and enter any notes that he would like. And at any time before the fair or during the fair, he can invite students to visit his virtual booth and chat with him on a one-on-one or in a group chat. And when the fair is over, he can filter by the students he's marked that he's interested in and download the resumes for follow-up or interviews. This is the user journey that Scott is going through in a nutshell. So now I'm actually going to pass you over to the real Scott. As you can see, Scott made the story about himself. So he can walk you through the step-by-step screens. Scott?
Great, thank you, Janet. And next slide, please. So the the first step in the virtual career fair process for employers is to register for the fair. All of our schools use similar registration forms for their virtual career fairs, but there will be some slight differences from school to school. However, the one standard part is really the most important part of the virtual career fair. So unlike in-person fairs where reps for employers can just show up, with the virtual fair, they actually have to log in to the school's Symplicity site in order to participate. The registering contact, they can enter in each rep that will be attending for their organization. We do ask for the virtual meeting information during registration, which this would be the link to the virtual meeting provider of your choice, so Zoom, GoToMeeting, etc. You don't have to enter the meeting information at that time. It is suggested you do, but you don't have to, just as long as you get it in there before the fair starts. In addition, the registering contact can set the expected chat time for the rep and one-on-one chats. This can be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. We do recommend 5 minutes, as this allows you to meet with the maximum number of students. So next slide, please. And then next up, we do provide for a group chats option. Group chats should use a separate meeting URL and should be staffed by a rep who will not be participating in the one-on-one video chats with students. Group chats, they're great for providing general information about the employer and also answering any commonly asked questions in more of a group setting. We provide a field for a group chat schedule. So this way students know when the group chat will be available for each employer. And next slide. And when reps are created as a part of the virtual career fair registration, if that rep does not have an account in that school Symplicity site, we will automatically create accounts for those reps. And that's just in that school's Symplicity site. And to generate a password, the rep can use the forgot password function on the employer login page for that school. Some schools will be emailing the newly created reps to get them started with generating a password, but we leave this up to the school just on how they prefer their new reps create passwords. We do recommend that reps do this ahead of time, which will also give them a chance to log in and get familiar with the employer interface. Schools will also be giving their employer access to the list of RSVP'd students ahead of time, but this also differs from school to school as far as when they would give that access. For the actual virtual career fair, employers can log in as early as an hour before to access the other portions of the virtual career fair. And next slide. And as mentioned before, employer reps can access the virtual career fair an hour before the fair. So once an employer has logged in, they will go to events in that left-hand navigation and then select career fair. And then this will take them to the career fair list. And it will show any fairs that the school does have going on and those that rep is registered for. They will then click on the highlighted portion that you can see here, which says View Chats. And then after clicking on View Chats, they will be taken into their queue. So next slide, please. And the first thing the rep should do once they are in the queue is to set their status. In the highlighted area here, you can see that we have 3 different statuses a rep can select. In order for students to start joining an employer's queue, at least one rep from that organization needs to be online. So they would, once that rep does get into this area, they should set themselves to online, just so they don't forget. It's easy to forget to do that, but they should set themselves to online once they get into this video chat queue. And then in order for the rep to be able to invite students to a video chat, they do have to be online. We also provide a busy status, which this is good for when the rep needs to take a break. They might have another meeting they have to jump into, something like that. But it's just really good just to set themselves to busy. And then offline status will be, that's reflected in the number of reps an employer has online, which students are able to see how many reps an employer does have online. But it's important to note that students do not see each rep status at all, that we don't display individual rep status to students. We more use that status when we're estimating the wait time that students see when they're viewing each employer's queue. And next slide. Then also on the right-hand side, employers have a button there to click to view their video chat instructions. Reps can change their chat instructions at any time. We provide an area to put the video chat instructions here, then also alternate chat instructions. The alternate chat instructions, they're good for giving students direction if they are having issues accessing the main video chat. So as you can see here, what I provided was just to email this email address if they're having any kind of issues. You can put a phone number there. You can put whatever you'd like. It's really just a text field that you can provide any kind of information you want for students to use if they're having any kind of issue. And again, reps can change the instructions at any time. And this is handy if their preferred video conference provider is having issues. And the rep needs to change to a backup provider, or maybe they need to change the link they were using. They can easily put that new link in the chat instructions. One best practice for entering any hyperlink in any of these chat instructions areas is to make sure that it is linked properly. This way, students will only have to click on the link to access the video chat and not have to copy and paste it into their browser. Next slide. And as you have probably noticed from the previous screenshots, employer reps can upload a picture to their account, which that then displays to students. This is helpful for students as it will help them know that they are chatting with the right rep when they get to the video chat. It also helps students when they go back to review or enter any more notes or follow up with the employers they chatted with, just because they'll have a familiar face with a name. And each rep can access the picture upload by going to, when they're logged in on the left-hand side, they just go to My Account and then Personal Profile, and then they go to that picture field, and it's the standard upload process for an image. And next slide. And the queue for each employer goes in the order that students join the queue. We did a lot of research with schools and employers and students before building our new virtual career fair solution. The feedback was overwhelmingly in favor of providing an experience that really mimics that in-person fair experience. And it allows any student attending the fair the chance to talk to any employer at the fair. Unlike other solutions out there, we don't allow for scheduling ahead of time in the fair. Because of this feedback, everything is done through a queue, which does provide that equal opportunity that students can meet with any employer at the fair and conduct true career discovery, that's especially important for those first year and second year students who are attending the fair, trying to figure out what path they want to pursue. We have been asked why we didn't go with a scheduling solution for the virtual career fair. And that main reason is we didn't want to effectively lock students out from having the opportunity to learn more about employers recruiting at the career fair. And with the queue, reps are not able to just jump through the list, selecting whichever student that they want to invite to a video chat. They must select the students in the order that they are available. Students are able to join multiple queues at a time, which is controlled by the school when they set up the virtual career fair. It can be anywhere from 1 to 5 queues at one time, but again, the school controls this number, and it's usually based on the size of the fair, how many employers are attending, how many students are expected, etc. If the student, if they're in your queue and they are invited to a chat by another employer, while they're in your queue, that marks them as busy in your queue, and you are not able to invite them to chat until the chat with the other employer has ended. However, you are able to invite the next available student in the queue in these cases, next available student. Another thing I just want to point out is that employer reps are able to view the resume of any student in their queue before actually talking to the student. This allows the rep to really get a lot of information about the student before they actually talk, which provides just for more meaningful conversations once they are actually in that video chat. we have numerous areas where employers can access the students' resumes. And next slide, please. And if you get anything out of this training, it's really on this slide, because we feel this is the most important thing for you to really maximize your virtual career fair experience. So as mentioned before, employer reps can log in as early as an hour before the fair. This gives them plenty of time to set everything up. So it's kind of like an in-person fair where you let employers in to set up early. This is the same thing, but it's a different kind of setup, obviously. Part of this setup is having 2 browser windows open. One for your video conferencing service, and then one for the school's virtual career fair. So with video conferencing providers like Zoom and GoToMeeting, they do require you to launch the virtual meeting from their applications. This means that we are not able to have the video window within the virtual career fair. Once the rep is logged into the school Symplicity site, they should launch the virtual conference that they'll be using for the fair. And then they can arrange the browser windows similar to what you see in this slide here. After an employer invites a student to chat, the rep will be taken to that chat screen, which is on the right-hand side in this slide, which it shows information about the student. And then on the far right-hand side of that is a chat timer, that is set to the expected chat time, which is set by the employer during the career fair registration. The timer will start once the student has accepted the video chat invitation. So if the timer doesn't move right away, this is why. It's just because the student hasn't clicked to accept the chat yet. And once the timer does start moving, give students a minute or two to show up in your video conference. Sometimes those video services can be slow to launch. The student may have to log into their Zoom account, et cetera. I mean, there's several reasons why it just takes a minute or two. And then once you are chatting and that timer gets down to a minute left, you will receive, and it's just the employer receiving this, an audio alert and a pop-up message that the chat time is about to expire. The rep then has the option to extend the chat by 2 more minutes. This is also another area where the rep can access the student's resume. And then once the chat has wrapped up, we suggest that the employer to remove the student from the video chat portion. For instance, in GoToMeeting, the organizer of the video conference can dismiss the participant. And then other services call it different things, but it is an option in all of them. We also suggest utilizing things like Zoom's waiting room or the GoToMeeting lock room feature when talking to a student. It just keeps unwanted people from coming into that video chat. And then on the Symplicity side of things, once that chat is over and you go to click on End Chat, that's when it's going to take you to a chat summary. So next slide. And in the chat summary, the rep can see the student's info again. Then they can see things like chat duration, when the chat started, all that kind of stuff. They can also enter in notes about the conversation. And then as a rep, you can also set the overall feedback, which is there's just 2 options there. It's interested or not interested. And this is something that employer reps can filter by when viewing a list of students they chatted with after the fair. There's also a future contact field where the rep can enter. It can be anything like a name, it could be a department, email address, etc. This is really just good for if the rep feels that they should refer the student to someone else in their organization. And just it's important to note that the notes entered in this area by the rep are only visible to the reps from that organization who are participating in the virtual career fair. And once again, it's another area where the rep can view the student's resume. As you can see, we put those things all over the place. And next slide. And then at all career fairs, no matter if they're in person or virtual, size, they all have their peaks and valleys with the student attendance, because they're doing things like going to class, they have to work, that kind of stuff. So, so you're going to have your busy times and your slow times. So we did provide an easy way for you to generate interest in your organization with students who are attending the fair. Employer reps can access a list of students before, during, and after the fair who have either RSVP'd or they're attending the fair. And this list can be filtered on different student profile information. So if you're looking for students of a certain major, class level, that kind of stuff, you are able to filter on that. And then we have a mail to button there that when you click that, it's going to provide you an option to select an invite to chat email. This email can be customized by each employer to help you showcase your organizations. It also includes a direct link to your organization's overview within the virtual career fair for that school. So it makes it very easy for students to click on that link and learn more about your organization. And next slide. And as mentioned several times now, we do provide for multiple areas for reps to view and or download the resumes of students that they have chatted with. Reps can log back into the virtual career fair after the fair and access a completed chats tab. And this completed chats tab shows all the students who chatted with reps at your organization. You can filter on that overall feedback field. So if you just want to see the students that you're interested in, you can filter on that and view those students. You can also filter on the rep's name field. So if you want to search on your own name, and you can see who you chatted with, or you can just do a keyword search on the student's name. And then again, you will see each student has a view resume option where the rep can again view and or download that student's resume. And next slide. And now some best practices, many of which we've already mentioned, but it never hurts to revisit these. So first of all, join the virtual fair early. It opens up an hour before, but allows you to do that employer setup, get your browser situation, the two windows set up side by side, to just really take care of all of that. And then be sure to set the status to online, just so students are able to, once the fair does start, they are able to join your queue and they're not being blocked by that. And then also making sure the chat instructions are correct. With your video conference or video meeting, you should start that, I would say, at the very latest 15 minutes before the virtual career fair starts. Doing it earlier will never hurt either. And just keeping it on for that full duration of the fair. And then, as I mentioned before, setting up Symplicity and the video meeting in those two browser windows and putting those side by side, because it really provides for better workflow and better experience for the employer reps. And when the student does click to or accepts your chat invitation, give them a minute or so to join that video meeting. Sometimes these things just take a little while to load, or again, they have to log in, that kind of stuff. And then when you're done chatting with the student, remove that attendee, just depending on the video conference provider that you're using. But yeah, removing that attendee and don't end the video meeting. And then that recommended chat time of 5 minutes, you can always extend by 2 minutes if it's you and a student are having a great conversation. You can always extend, but that recommended chat time just really maximizes the potential you have for having good conversations with students. And then once that the chat ends with the student, make sure you go back in or add notes right then. You are going to be meeting with a lot of students during these, so you never know what you're going to remember about a certain conversation. I'm certainly guilty of that. But make sure you mark the students, the overall feedback, and then provide those notes about the conversation right after you end that conversation with the student. And then, be proactive and invite students, before the fair starts or during a break in activity, really reach out to the students and drum up some interest in your organization for them. but I will turn it back over to Janet.
All right, thank you so much, Scott. So I did see a couple questions come in, and I just want to address them off the bat. So we are recording this today, so anyone who's attending it will get a copy of it, don't worry. So let's just make sure everybody realizes that. We're also going to do Q&A at the end of this session, so stick around for that piece of it. Okay, so let's move on to how you can participate in more virtual events at Symplicity schools or virtual recruiting across Symplicity schools. But just to give us a little bit sense of who's in the audience before Telly speaks, can you do us a favor and fill out this poll? As an employer, how many entry-level hires, and that includes internships, co-ops, full-time, do you plan to make in the upcoming academic year? Just give that a few minutes for people to respond. I know it's uncertain to some extent, times that we're operating in, but take your best guess at this moment. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes, give folks a few minutes to finish up their answers. All right, we just got a little more to go here. And the system will let me close the poll momentarily. All right, I think that we're going to close it up. We're over a minute now, so I'm going to stop the poll now. Thank you all for sharing that information with us. And Kelly, I'm going to pass it to you. You can tell us about all the great ways that our employers can recruit virtually.
Excellent. Thanks, Janet. I'm really happy to be here to talk about Recruit today. And as Matt had mentioned earlier, we have spent a ton of time listening to employers and engineering solutions to make recruiting across the network easier. Today, I'm going to show you how Recruit makes it simple for you to recruit at a single school, at your core schools, or across the network in whatever format feels most comfortable and safe to you. To continue with our training on virtual career fairs, let's start with how to find these career fairs in Recruit. Janet, if you want to advance the slide. Great, thank you. On Symplicity Recruit, we show career fairs happening at schools across our network. It's a great way to find events at your core schools or to discover events happening across schools. And given the way we provide to connect with students at these events, which Scott just took you through, you can start to fill in the gap left by postponed or canceled events and prevent a lot of individual follow-ups to hopefully help you save time. There are a few ways we highlight the virtual career fairs happening across our schools. What you're seeing here is the Recruit homepage, where we will be highlighting virtual events from our recommended event section. We base our recommended events on your activity, including past event RSVPs, job postings, and school connections. The more you recruit, the better the recommendations get. If the events happen to be held in a virtual format, you will see the virtual tag under the name of the school hosting the event. And to register for the event, you simply click on it, which will take you to the event registration form at the school for you to fill out. If you want to see events that are happening across the network, you can simply click on the View All link in the upper right corner of the Recommended Events section, which will take you to our events listing. Next slide. Great, which you can see here. So from the listing, you can search by keyword. You can add filter and filter events by school, dates, registration deadlines, and to events happening at your core schools. And with our September release, we will be highlighting virtual career fairs on the list view with the virtual tag, which you can see here on a few of the events. And more importantly, we will be introducing a virtual career fairs filter to make it easy to see these virtual recruiting opportunities through these career fairs and get registered for them. Next slide. Great. Now let's talk about information sessions. So given the importance of brand and candidate experience, this is a great opportunity to tell your story and help candidates imagine themselves as part of your team. If you want to engage students at a specific school, you can request to host an information session through Recruit at all of your connected schools. When you request an information session at a school, we will show you a list of schools where you can make the request, and you can see that here. And when you click on the request button, you will then slide into the school's environment. Next slide. Where you can click on the information session type, and if the school is offering a virtual option, it will be there for you to select. Fill out the rest of the form and submit it to the school for review. And once the information session is approved, it will show up in Recruit. Next slide. And finally, let's talk about how you can request virtual interview schedules through Recruit. When you request an interview schedule in Recruit, it will pull up a list of connected schools like you see here, where you're able to request interview schedules. And then to request an interview schedule, just simply click on the request button, and that's going to take you into the school's schedule request form, which is the next slide. And on the school schedule request form, if the school is offering virtual interviews, then you will be able to see it under OCI session or OCR model. You can select the virtual model that works for you, fill out the form, and the school will review it, and it will hopefully approve it. And once it's approved, you will see the schedule. You'll see the students that are getting added to the schedule. You will be able to see the information around the students, including basic profile data and also their resume. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so up to this point, we've talked about recruiting at one school on Recruit. Now let's turn our focus on augmenting this effort so that you can easily recruit across schools to hopefully save you some time. Next slide. All right, so let's start with our smart job postings. So in Recruit, we do give you the opportunity to distribute your posting across the network when you're posting it. In addition, if you have selected 5 or more schools, we can also give your posting a boost with our Smart Invites. Smart Invites is a proactive email that goes out to active job seekers located in and around your job location on our network, applying to jobs very similar to yours over the past 30 days and invite them to apply to your opportunity. Smart Invites, our proactive outreach, will be enabled by default from the first step of the job posting flow in Recruit. The first invite will go out the day that your job is posted. We will also send a reminder to students ahead of the job expiration. And we're seeing right now open rates of over 70%. So you can expect to see your applicant pool grow with quality best fit candidates. And when your pool is full of best fit candidates, next slide, then we make it easy to send applicants of interest an invite to interview with you. You can message one or multiple students at a time to set up interviews from your list of applicants. If you are using an appointment scheduling tool, we make it simple to insert a link to your calendar so that candidates can select a time that is available for you and receive a confirmation, including a link to where you are hosting the interview. So super simple, easy way to reach a lot of applicants and get your interview scheduled. Next slide. And finally, if you're hosting your own event in any format, Recruit can help you promote it to the right students and recent grads across the network through global search. In global search, you can search and filter to students and recent grads you want to invite to your event. You can meet your diversity, equity, and inclusion goals by servicing talent from the minority serving institutions on our network. You can organize students through tags. You can send a personalized and branded email inviting students to your event. You can engage students prior to the event, letting them in on your culture by linking to images, videos, and more. You can send a reminder prior to the event to make sure that you're getting students engaged and at the event. And you can follow up with students after the event as many times as you would like. And we designed this so that you can make the most out of your events by promoting your event to the right students and engaging with them to convey your company brand and culture ahead of events to generate interest. Also, to ensure that no matter the format, you're maintaining a positive candidate experience through multiple touch points. So we hope that this has been helpful in providing some ideas to how to use Recruit to transition to virtual recruiting, accelerate your recruiting if and when there is demand across schools, convey your company culture to candidates without in-person meetings through postings and our communication tools, and more importantly, maintain a positive candidate experience during uncertainty, both within your organization and also with students. If you're interested in learning more or have feedback to share about how we can make recruiting better for you, please feel free to ask questions during the Q&A or reach out after this training today. Thanks, Janet. I think ready to send it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly. We've got a ton of Q&A and some time left, so let's try to get through it really quickly. I'm gonna just grab them sort of randomly here. So I guess maybe this one to you, Scott, about audio alerts. Are there audio alerts for the employer and the student?
Yes, there are. There's for both, actually. For employers, there's an audio alert once it hits 1 minute left in the conversation, where you do get that audio alert and a pop-up asking you if you want to extend, or that just letting you know that it's about the chat's about over. Students do have an audio alert on their end that they receive when an employer invites them to chat.
Excellent, thank you. Kelly, this question's for you. Is there a limit on the number of schools I can recruit from on Recruit?
So the good news is that there is no limit to this number of schools that you can ask to connect with in Recruit. And once you ask to connect with the school, we send the connection request to the school. And once they approve you, then you're free to recruit students from the school on Recruit.
Great. Can there be more than one representative on a one-on-one session, Scott?
Well, we leave that up to the employer, since you have the control over the video conference that you're using. You can have, if you have multiple reps on your on that video conference, you can certainly do that. So yeah, I mean, but it's really up to you if you want to have multiple employers in that chat at the same time. But I wouldn't suggest having the same URL for like 2 different reps at the fair, inviting students in. That would just become a mess. But yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. This question's for you, Matt. What is the difference between Symplicity Virtual Career Fairs and Symplicity Recruit?
Great question. So Symplicity CSM is the platform that the universities use to run their career center, and many of you have posted directly at universities on Symplicity CSM. Symplicity Recruit is a central site for employers to go that integrates with all of the various Symplicity universities. So it used to be just for multi-posting, And now we've indexed all of the students, and we've obtained the right permissions, and we've worked very closely with our universities to figure out the right balance between the protection of student data and preserving the university ideals and then the university strategies, and at the same time allowing employers to have one central place where they can log in one place across all the universities, where they can use IA-based global search across all of the universities to identify candidates, where they can run campaigns, where they can promote themselves, where they can have a single profile. So Symplicity Recruit, you can go there and see the site. Some people go and they just use it for multi-posting, but increasingly where the market is going right now is people just get a subscription to Recruit, and it's unlimited, it's open, you could do all the things I just described across all the universities, as well as the additional benefits to virtual career fairs that Telly just covered.
Great, thank you. Scott, this one's for you. How many queues can students be in at one time?
Well, that's really up to the school when they're setting up the career fair. They can set the number of queues that students can be in at one time, and it's anywhere from 1 to 5. We default it to 3, but again, it's up to the school. I think a lot of things figure into that, like how many employers are attending, how many students are attending, the time, like how long the career fair is. So yeah, we leave that up to the school, but we are defaulting it to 3, but it can be anywhere from 1 to 5.
Great, thank you. Another clarifying question for you. Do we need to use our own company Zoom, and the Symplicity software would keep time?
Yes. So you do use, in this, I guess in this case it'd be Zoom. It's whatever video conferencing service the company wants to use. And then Symplicity is more about managing the queue and keeping track of the chat time.
And just to add on to
Great.
Scott, we spent a lot of time with employers and universities on this question, and the overwhelming feedback we received was people want to be able to use whatever they're used to using, whether it's their individual account, whether it's their company account, whether the university wants to dictate what they use. For privacy considerations, some firms say everything has to be on our own technology, so we've made it flexible, and we adopted kind of this universal compatibility, which drove a lot of the decisions around this, but it works seamlessly with all.
Great, thank you. Another one for you, Scott. Are we listed as busy if we're in a group presentation and therefore unable to attend the one-on-one?
No, it's the employer, if they're in the group chat, it doesn't impact their status at all. The only time the employer would be switched to busy is if they take a break and they set themselves to busy, or if they invite a student to chat and the chat's accepted, then they are considered busy. But that's really the only time that you would be in that situation. We do not suggest having you in the group chat and then also inviting students to one-on-one. That may be a lot to manage. We suggest having someone else being in that group chat and just taking care of that, and then having other folks on the one-on-one chats.
Great, thank you. Also, some confusion about not seeing the View Chats button on the career fair page. Can you talk a little bit about when that appears for employers?
Yeah, sure. So the View Chat, that actually shows up 1 hour before the fair starts. So that's when you'll be able to log in and view that. You can still log in and more than an hour before, but the View Chat only shows up an hour before the virtual career fair begins.
Great, thank you. Kelly, this is a question for you. Is there a limit on the number of emails I can send to students through Recruit?
So no, there isn't a limit as it relates to your applicants or through global search. We do have a cap for each message. It's sent to, you can send to 100 students at a time.
Great, thank you. Question for you, Matt. Is there a charge for employers to use Symplicity virtual career fairs beyond the charge that a school might deploy for a booth?
Nope, it is free as part of your CSM subscription for a school, and it's free for employers unless the school normally charges for a Recruit. And if there's a university that doesn't use CSM that wants to use virtual career fair as a standalone matter, we can do that for a minor license charge.
There's a question about how do you invite students to the fair? Over to you, Scott.
You can do this through when you go into the virtual career fair, and you can do this before the fair. It doesn't have to be just within an hour of the fair. It can be days before. It's just whenever the school opens up that to be able to view the RSVP'd students. If you go to the career fair, there's an RSVP'd students tab, and if you go to that, that's where you can view the students, and you can batch email them from there. You can whittle the list down if you have certain majors you're looking for, and invite students that way. It's that invite to chat email that I talked about earlier.
Great. Another question for you, Scott. Do you suggest each rep have their own video link or one link for all reps?
Absolutely, each rep have their own video link. It could get kind of messy if you have multiple reps on the same link, because you'd have multiple reps with multiple students, and it just would not be a good experience at all. So yes, absolutely, each rep should have their own link.
Kelly, question for you. If I'm using Recruit, can I see the students I've met with at the career fair and reach out to them on Recruit?
So that's a very good question. We've had quite a few employers ask about it, and it's not there yet, but it's certainly on our roadmap for future development.
Thank you. Scott, another one for you. How much time can I extend the meeting if I set it for 5 minutes? So if an employer has 5 minutes, yeah. What's the extend time?
So it's when you hit the button, it extends it by 2 minutes. And we don't have a limit on how many times you can hit that. So if it's a really good conversation, you could extend it as much as you want to. Obviously, that's going to limit how many students you meet with at the fair, but it extends it by 2 minutes each time you hit that button.
Great. Can employers choose between having one-on-ones and group chat?
Well, you can have both, but I mean, if you want to, you are able just to have a group chat. If you'd like, I wouldn't suggest doing that. It doesn't really provide for the best experience. I would suggest having both group chat and one-on-ones, just because you can get a lot of the general questions out of the way with the group chats, where the one-on-one you're going to get to know the student more directly and see if they're a good fit for your organization.
Great, thank you. A question for you, Matt. Can employers recruit diversity candidates through Symplicity Recruit?
Yes, absolutely, and you can do it across all of our universities.
Scott, can you describe the student experience in terms of attending the fair and getting into a video chat? What does that look like on the student side?
Yeah, sure. So students, I mean, they log in, obviously, and they can start joining queues once the fair starts. So they see an employer list. It's on its own tab, and they're able to filter that list. So it can be by what majors maybe that those employers are recruiting. I mean, there's the school actually sets the search fields that are available. Then they can start viewing these employers, and if they like what they see in the overview, they can choose to join the queue. Then once they're in the queues, that's when, on the employer side, you would invite them to chat one-on-one. Once they are invited, they do receive that audio alert. When they choose to accept that invitation, it takes them into a page that's going to have the chat instructions. And that's the only way they access the chat instructions for the one-on-one is they have to be invited and they have to accept. So the chat instructions aren't just hanging out there for anyone to see. It's actually the students who have been invited. And so once they accept, they see the instructions, they click the link to join, and then they're taken into your video chat then. And then it's, obviously the rest is pretty self-explanatory.
Great. Another question, can 2 recruiters split the time of 1 during the span of the fair? So if you're allowed to have 3, can you have 2 do a full day and 2 do half days?
It's really whatever works for the organization as far as who they have there and who can be available when. Because the reps can take themselves offline, which at that point they're not able to select students to or invite them to chats. So it's really it's up to them and what works best.
Excellent. There are quite a few questions about Microsoft Teams. I guess we've mentioned GoToMeeting and WebEx and Zoom a lot. So can you just talk about whether Microsoft Teams works in this environment?
Yes, it does. Yeah, Microsoft Teams does work. Any platform like that where you can provide a link for the student to join, that'll work.
Well, excellent. We are at the hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will look through your responses and see if there's a way we can get back to you as a group. Please download our virtual career fair quick start guide. It should be available in the handout. Please ping us in the questions if it's not available, but I think I did upload it there. We're also going to be sending you a survey immediately following this, along with our fall recruiting kit and report. So I'd love to hear your feedback on this webinar today. And we wish you all a safe and successful recruiting season. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.